and welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Marietta.
And I'm Connie, and today we're here with Grace Barnick. So, Grace, how do you deal when shit gets real? Or just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, ladies. When shit gets real, I invest in myself and my health, and I encourage every listener and every woman out there to do the same. I'm living in Japan right now, so I'm in the future talking to you now.
So cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, my husband and I have been living in Japan for the last 3 years. My husband is active duty Navy. So we've had the very, very fortunate luck to be stationed in Japan for the past couple of years, and we'll be here for a few years more. And today I just really want to chat with you guys about how to kind of overcome limiting mindsets so that you can really achieve anything that you want to.
Are you in Okinawa?
All right.
Not in Okinawa, although we go down there at least once a year to play softball. We're on the opposite end of the country. So we're in far northern Japan, in this prefecture called Aomori. So if you ever look up Aomori, the first thing that you're going to learn about it is that it's the snowiest place on earth. So we live in annually the highest snowfall area in the entire world. It's pretty cool.
Really? How do you like it?
I love it. I grew up in California, so we didn't really grow up with snow. So
like anytime,
this is the best. Yeah, I check during the winter months. I'm checking the forecast literally every day. Like, is there more snow? When's the snow? And when it starts to kind of trickle off at the end of the season, I get really sad. I can't.
And then you get all that gross kind of like mud. Ugh, I hate that.
The mush. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are from Chicago. You're over snow, but for me, it's still novel. So I can't get enough.
I love snow. I'm very jelly.
I will love shovel snow for fun. I love you like snow?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we both do.
It's the best. Do you? And
I do.
Just the clothes, like you just get a big fluffy jacket. It's the best.
Oh, being bundled up. There's nothing like it.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love me a good beanie. Like I love a good beanie.
Just the whole boots. I'm all about it.
So what's your favorite like Japanese cuisine? Because I'm sure you've tried some, I hope.
I mean, anything. If you have the opportunity to come to Japan, eat anything they put in front of you. I've not had a single bad thing since we've been here. But I'd probably have to say my favorite thing is ramen. They're like, I had ramen back in the States and I was like, oh, this is fine, whatever. But every type of ramen in Japan is just so good. You crave it. It's just, it's the best.
There's nothing like it because the prepackaged stuff is not even close.
No, and even the prepackaged stuff in Japan is better than anything you're gonna get in the States.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me, honestly. I feel like most things from other countries are better than ours.
And I'm sure they feel the same way if they come to the States and, try something that we just, write off. They're like, oh, this is so amazing. I'm telling you, Japan does it better. They just do.
Okay, note to self.
Yeah,
I just feel like it's what the origin food is. You know what I mean? Like, of course, ramen with a Japanese origin always is going to taste better in Japan. Like, I love poke bowls from Hawaii. And when we went to Hawaii, it was all about it. Have tried to make my own at home, and those are pretty good. But I've gone to poke places up here in Chicago, and I'm like, no, I'll eat anything else. Just not. I can make a pretty decent version myself at home, but like, no, it's not going to ever top the ones in Hawaii because that's where the origin is from.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that. My husband, when he'd go visit, he'd say, like, if you go and get it from like the grocery store, it's better than anything you'll find in a restaurant on the mainland.
Oh, yeah. Our favorite place to get poke from when we lived there was in a liquor store.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
The bar is just higher.
Oh, it was just so good. But anyway.
I could talk about food for a long time.
Yeah, I think all of us could. But since we're talking about Japan and you clearly had to PCS there and fitness is your thing, how did you make these PCS proof programs? Because I'm sure a lot of military spouses are going, tell me more.
Well, I'll kind of back up a little bit even to before we moved to Japan. It's a longer story that maybe we'll touch on a little bit, but I always have been kind of an employee. I've always worked for other people. I never really thought of this option of work for yourself or be an entrepreneur. But I was starting to realize that I wasn't happy at any of the places that I was working at. I always felt like I worked really hard and never got the recognition. I'm sure a lot of other women especially feel the same way, as you work so hard and you just never get the promotions or, the recognition that you feel like you earned. And I decided I had been on this path of personal development, working on my mindset. And I started working with a business coach. And this was before I even owned a business. And I started realizing that I had this passion for helping people that weren't just in my vicinity, helping people from afar. And so I started this company back in 2019. And I had this vision, like, there are military spouses and there are women in the military all over the country that I'm just not able to reach right now because I'm in this one physical location. Why don't I start this company where I'm able to coach people from afar? And that kind of stemmed from having clients who I had been working with, and we developed this great rapport, and then they would leave. It was their turn to leave. Or in one case, it was my turn to leave. When I decided to move down and be with my now husband, I left all my clientele behind. And that was really hard for me to be like, I'm so sorry, we're doing so great. Bye. So that was kind of where the company came from. And then 1 month after I started the company, we found out we were moving to Japan. And then
of course.
Right. And so it was just kind of like it was laying itself out for me. This is the direction I'm supposed to be going in. I'm going the right way. Keep going. And then 2020 comes around and COVID hits. And then all of the gyms in California shut down overnight. And so it was another reiteration, confirmation that I was moving in the right direction, because I had already laid out kind of the systems that need to be put in place to switch all of my clients from in-person coaching to remote coaching overnight. And
wow, so you were ahead of the curve.
It just happened to work out that way.
That's awesome.
And then that summer we moved to Japan. So it was just all laid itself out perfectly.
Wow.
I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of the backstory.
The origin story.
The origin story about how PCS Proof Fitness kind of started.
Did you still keep and retain a lot of your California clients?
Yes. Yeah, in fact,
that's awesome.
A few of them I'm still working with currently. So, and it's worked out. It's not the same as being face to face. Of course, you lose a little bit of that interaction, but what you lose in the face to face, you gain in more in-depth conversations, kind of like what you and I are having right now. When you feel like you're in this intimate space and you're not in a busy gym where everyone else can hear what you're saying, you talk about things a little bit more deeply, and you get to different layers of progress.
And 10 out of 10, way more convenient.
And more convenient. Yeah. You're not waiting on your 1 hour session with your coach, which is usually not the most convenient time, because those are the busiest times at the gym. You can work out when is most convenient to you. So you lose a little bit, but you gain so much.
Is the time change hard?
Actually, no. Maybe if I was in Europe, it would be a little bit different, but fortunately, Japan's time zones, it's the morning time that I'm talking to you now. You guys are in the evening, so it tends to work out perfectly. And I'm a morning person. I'm more productive in the morning. So those are the best times for me to be able to take care of my clients back in the States. And then it also allows me the rest of the day to take care of my clients who are here across the Pacific.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your program. What's unique about them, and where can people find them?
Thank you for asking. So I'll kind of go into why it's a little bit different than traditional training, because I know there's 1,000 different fitness programs out there. There's free stuff everywhere. Everyone's getting inundated with, so many different fitness programs, coaches. It's overwhelming. And so what I really wanted to do is be very specific and work with the people that I feel like I can help the most, because I understand them. And that is women in the military and military spouses. And one of the biggest struggles that they face is having to adapt to ever-changing schedules, to a PCS, a deployment, having to go through, like for us here in Japan or any overseas base or post, we go through these exercise weeks a couple times a year, and it just kind of like throws a monkey wrench into a really nice routine. So I wanted to be able to create a program that adapts no matter what is going on, and that you don't have to stop and start every single time you relocate. I wanted something that people could be able to continue on with and feel like they're making progress and staying consistent, even if it has to look a little bit different depending on the season that you're going through in the military. I also know that like the most important things from my experience with non-military or military, like the most important things that people are looking for in a program is something that they can follow, an easy plan that's really laid out and is proven to work. And they want support, of course. They want someone there kind of holding their hand when they have questions or just giving them encouragement. And then they also need the flexibility, like we were talking about with like scheduling. As like if you have something come up and you can't make your 1 hour appointment with your trainer, you lose that session, and that kind of like throws off your progress. You need something that's flexible and that's going to kind of like morph to your busy life. If you have kids, they have sports, they have hobbies and activities, you have work, your spouse, all those things affect your ability to keep a regiment. So you need to have flexibility in that. So those 3 things are built into the PCS proof program. So one of the other things that kind of for me when I was moving overseas is, one, you lose your stuff for 3 or 4 months as you're moving. So
Worst part.
all your nice, it seems so silly, but it's like, it's so, you just feel like all your stuff just like, I hope you're okay on the other side.
It's not silly. No.
And then when it shows up, isn't that the best day?
Yeah. Oh yeah. When it shows up, it's especially because like when we came from Hawaii, I slept on a couch for a month and I was like, my back cannot handle this anymore. I need a bed.
And the first night in your bed again.
Yes.
The best sleep ever. So I knew when we moved over from Japan, I was really missing having a program to follow. I was really missing having, all my toys, my equipment. I was missing having a gym because it had been since early March since I had been able to step foot in a gym. And so I wanted to create a program that I could have used during that time, and I did create little pieces of it at that time, just with the little bit of equipment that we kept with us. And so I took all of that stuff that I tried and all that stuff I wish I had had and put it into this program. So, God forbid there's another pandemic. I don't think that's going to happen. But the reality is that, you might be working out of a hotel for a month or 2, or you might be on the road for a little bit, staying at families' houses, or what is it, whatever it is. So that the program will adapt to that. And then when you get back to your gym, you can seamlessly move right back into the gym.
It honestly sounds like a plan for also moms, like for like anybody, but like all these things that you're talking about, like, yes, of course applies like to military, but I'm like, yeah, no, I've packed up half of my house right now. It's all in a storage unit because we're trying to move. Like, even though I'm not in the military, and like once we move from this house, it'll just be like to the next house and I won't have to wait 3 months for my stuff, but I still packed. Most of my stuff is in a storage unit and at my mother's house. Yeah, we just have a couple we just have a couple of our like big furniture pieces that we have to wait, and then our like the bare minimum clothes and like everyday necessities, and it's
so you get it.
I was like, motherhood.
I love how your packing and your house isn't even on the market.
It will be next week, bitch. Okay.
Well, about time.
But you have to make it look good, right? You have to like minimalize it.
Well, and also I have a 1-year-old, so he's trying to like unpack everything I'm trying to pack. It's taken me forever just to pack up anyway, just because he's 1 and wants to get into everything.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of go along with what you're saying, Connie, is like same thing. Like if you're a mom and you're trying to get to the gym to do your workout because you have to do your workout in the gym, but your kids are, like they're not having it. Like that sucks. You're like, oh, I guess I can't go to the gym today. I guess I can't go to the gym this week. Like, why can't you just do it at home? Make it easy to do.
Or even yesterday, I have a gym with a daycare. And
Mhm.
they didn't put on, because like they have a schedule on their app of like what's available and what classes they're doing. Well, the app said that the daycare was running. I get there and the daycare is not running. I was like, oh, fabulous. I've driven 20 minutes for no reason.
How
Why exactly
frustrating.
is this not on the application that you guys have that you update weekly? Seriously? Okay,
I hope
cool.
whoever you had to deal with at the front desk there was like, oh my gosh, this mom is going to rip me a new one.
No, they were
We
too
need to fix this.
concerned. They were too concerned with their own conversation of whatever they were
Oh.
having. Because I scanned in and everything with the toddler in my arms, and I head over to the kids center because you can see it, it's all glass. And I saw nobody was in there and it was completely empty. And I was like, no, no daycare. And they were like, oh yeah, no daycare until after Friday. And then they just went back talking like they could care
I
less.
Yeah, I mean, that's another reiteration of how,
Yeah.
like as nice it is to have a gym that has daycare, that is a nice feature, but it doesn't always work.
Yep. But like we've talked about, convenience is kind of important and key when whether you're PCSing or have, a kid and you
Yeah,
need to
absolutely.
fit it around child.
Yeah, and sometimes traditional gyms and fitness centers, they just don't get it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And
Yeah,
that's why
you just
we're
can't
at
rely on it.
yeah, that's why at our next house we're going to have both. Where I'm gonna go to the YMCA like we've been doing because they have a couple of really great perks, but we're also gonna have an at-home gym to, for the kid and to work around, when a kid is needy and I can't go and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Connie, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why is it important to you to work out? Like, why is it? Because it sounds like that's like a priority for you guys to build a gym. Why is it important to you to do that?
Well, I've not that I've gotten into a fitness kick. No, I mean, I don't know what changed, but like recently I am like, nope, this is a priority. I don't know if it's like motherhood and like, oh, okay, I want like an hour to myself. It's great. I get to work out. I can be like, I can let out frustrations at the gym and, and like be happier. Like I am happier. And I go on a daily walk in the morning and I go to the gym at night. So I'm working out a lot. And yeah, I don't know. It randomly became super important to me. Not that it shouldn't always be important. And I've always like randomly like worked out, but never to such a consistency. So yeah, honestly, it's just like, yeah, no, I feel like I'm happier.
Yeah, you work out and you feel happier after.
I
Yeah.
mean, Legally Blonde wasn't wrong, right?
Exactly.
I hear that from a lot of moms. It's my time and I feel happier after. And like,
Yeah.
Yes.
how can that not be better for your family?
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
a little bit so the walk in the morning actually, like that's my way of dealing with Theo because he can be a grouch in the morning and on walks he's always super happy in the morning and he's looking at everything and it's great. And like I get to walk, listen to music, and like that's great for me. And then at night when he goes to the gym, well, he's somebody else's problem during his also other crabbiest point of time.
So you timed it at the right times.
Yeah, kind of. Like not on purpose. It's not like I wouldn't ever deal with my child. It's just that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. It's so nice to have your own gym. We've always had our own gym pretty much since my husband and I have gotten married, because we're both very avid fitness people. And I actually went to school. I have my bachelor's in kinesiology. So
Oh,
that
wow.
was, yeah, I was a personal trainer for like 10 years before I switched. So it's always been a priority for us too. And it makes you happy, makes you feel good.
10 years of personal training. That's well, it's also one of those things that you can learn a lot from a book. Like having a degree in it, like I commend you, Rihanna. That's a lot, and even more than I did. I have a degree in science, but it's in animal biology.
I mean, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it works. It ended up working out, but there's a lot that you have to learn by doing with training, or anything kind of like a clinician. You have to put in the work, you have to put in the reps, and a lot of people aren't willing to put in the reps. So 10 years is pretty impressive, Rieta.
Oh, thank
And
you. Well, I worked too in because you know how it is, personal training can be hard, especially in a gym. Like people don't show up, like you don't get paid unless people show up. Like it can be very
It's a grind.
hard. Yeah, it's a grind. So I actually spent a lot of time working in a physical therapy clinic because then I
Love
could
that.
the people were always there. They were there. Plus, like, you know, you got to help rehab people from injuries, from surgeries. You saw all types of people from all walks of life. So it would just also kind of made it more interesting also.
More rewarding, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
But anyway, enough about us.
yes, I'm sorry. I've taken up way too much of the conversation.
Well, I like to hear that too, Connie, because like, you know, a lot of people start working out for aesthetic reasons. You know, they want to look better, they want to lose weight. Totally.
Well, I mean that
reasons.
too.
Yes, but there's so much more, and you just said it exactly as I feel better.
Yeah,
it helps my family, helps my kid. You know, like those are the other things that we don't really think about on the top of our head beyond the aesthetic.
And I saw
That's a good point.
I also saw a statistic. I mean, that this had nothing to do with me joining a gym, but a child is more likely to be more active based on the mother. So if your mom is not as active, the child will not be as active. And I was like, no, I don't want him to be a couch potato, and I don't want to be one either.
They notice that from a
They
very
do.
young age. They see how are you choosing to live your life, and they'll follow suit. Yeah. I say that I don't have kids, but I understand that from the women that I work with. It works.
Oh, yeah. And you can find out eventually if you choose to have them. I mean, and it's just something, it's an observation anybody could make, truly.
Yeah. So what's been something hard in your life that you've had to overcome, and what did it teach you? And is there any advice from it that you can give our listeners, which I know that was a lot at once. So let me know if I need to repeat.
Okay, I will do my best to answer it in a linear fashion, and try not to go on too many tangents. So I don't think I would be here. I wouldn't even be married to the man I'm married to if I had not gone through this journey of personal development. And that kind of stemmed from one of the hardest things I've had to go through in my life. And I know a lot of people have gone through a lot harder things in their life. So I say this is my personal journey. When I was in my just graduated from college, I graduated from college right after the economic crash in the early 2000s. Perfect.
2000,
so they're really
like 2008.
I graduated in 2009. Yeah.
Yep.
It was yeah. So I had a degree
awful.
in like public health. And there were no jobs in public health. There was no money going into public health. And even biotech, there weren't really that many jobs available in biotech because there wasn't a lot of funding available. And so I started going into something that I was good at, which is hospitality. And I really wasn't just like living up to my full potential. I was probably still in that college party mindset, and just trying to like pay my bills, pay my student loans, and survive. And I ended up getting into a relationship with a person who wasn't the healthiest for me. And at that time, I didn't really have the probably maturity or the self-worth to recognize that. And we ended up dating for many years. I started working in the wine industry. We moved to Napa. We were living in Napa. And while it is very shiny and beautiful, on the underneath level, it's just a bunch of people who drink too much, eat too much. And it wasn't the healthiest place to be like trying to thrive in. And I started to recognize that the relationship that I was in was extremely codependent. My partner was an alcoholic, and it was really wearing on me trying to protect this person. And I put all of my energy into trying to keep everything together. And I wasn't focusing on myself. I wasn't taking care of my mind. I wasn't taking care of my body. All my energy was into making sure this person didn't self-destruct and, self-destruct our lives. And I kind of hit rock bottom. And someone invited me to join this boot camp that was at like 6 a.m. in the morning, freezing cold in Napa, out on this like tennis court. And I started going, and the first couple of days were so hard. I wanted to give up. I wanted to quit after the first like 2 weeks. I think I wanted to quit, but I had signed an agreement for 12 months. And so I was going for 12 months.
Oh, man.
And so I kept showing up. And by realizing like, oh my gosh, I'm not as sore anymore. I feel better. Oh my gosh, I can do this thing that I couldn't do week 2. I was starting to realize like, okay, it was really hard, but I can do it. And by continuing to go back and continuing to see myself get better, and I felt better, my posture felt better, I started to kind of regain a little bit of self-worth. And through going through that, I started realizing all the kind of codependent behaviors that were happening outside. Like I wasn't taking care of myself, I was taking care of everyone else. And, you know, very long story short, by going through that process of focusing on myself, it helped me to get out of that codependent kind of, you know, just not healthy relationship and move on. And continuing to go through that, you know, it's hard, but keep going. It was difficult, but you're going to get better at it. I started, you know, really focusing on like feeding into that. And I ended up meeting my spouse, who I don't think I would have been a good partner for had I not gone through that process, and just continuing on with that. So I think my lesson from that experience is just like, if things are hard, stop looking at everyone else to fix it for you. Stop looking for everyone else's approval to tell you you're okay to change, you're okay to get out of that unhealthy place, workspace, environment, whatever it is, and start focusing on you, because you're going to be able to answer those questions for yourself, and you're going to be able to pull yourself out. No one else can do it for you. And when you're out of that, you'll be able to see this whole other world that's available to you, and you can do whatever you want because you know you've pulled yourself out of that dark place.
Yeah. And stop fixing other people. I hate that. Because my mom went in to another marriage, and I truly believe she thought she could fix him, and she never fixed him, because in truth, the only person you can fix is yourself, and somebody who does not want to be fixed will never be fixed.
And you're gonna make yourself crazy, drive yourself crazy.
Yes. Yeah. And so all the ladies who say that they can fix a guy, you're never going to fix him.
And I think, you know,
unless he truly wants to be changed, you're not going to fix him.
Absolutely. And there's a, you know, a whole nother layer of that, which is like, if you have the ability to do it, highly recommend therapy.
Oh God. Yeah.
That's a whole nother layer of like self-investment, personal growth,
absolutely,
self-reflection. That is just, you know, like I cannot say enough about a great therapist. And putting in the work.
Yeah. Well, that all goes back to the old,
right.
Well, and that also goes back to the old saying of you can't pour from an empty cup. Like,
oh yeah.
And so many of us are guilty of doing that. You just keep trying to pour and pour and pour, and there's nothing to pour from.
Yeah. Well, and I think that also goes to anyone who likes to help. Moms, you know, can kind of be put in that category. Anyone in healthcare, anything like that, where you're like, I have this desire to help other people. And I've seen that with personal training, where it could be really easy to like overstep your bounds and try and like, if someone isn't ready to change, you cannot step in and push them into change. It has to be kind of like a leading, a guiding thing. And so I think that is one of the things that we're learning about personal training and behavior change over time, is that, like, you remember in like the late 90s, early 2000s, with like thinking shows like Biggest Loser, where the coach is just screaming at the people like, you need to change, like all this stuff, just making them feel so bad about themselves. And that has been proven to not work in the long run.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I thought that none of them from The Biggest Loser, like none of them kept the weight off, as far as I remember.
Yeah, not many.
Yeah.
And so there's this change now of like, you're there to help, but if they're not ready for it and they're not willing to put in the work, like you have no right to overstep your bounds. You can invite, you can welcome, you can, ask questions, but you cannot push them beyond what they're ready for.
I
Oh,
always
yeah.
personally thought that show was a form of abuse.
Yeah.
It's
And how
hard to
damaging
watch.
to how damaging to the health and professional, personal trainers, PT, anything like that. How damaging is that to our image that's what people think of when they think of coaches? And I'll still have people reach out to me today where they're like, I want you to yell at me. And I'm like, I'm just not the coach for you.
Yeah.
There's probably someone out there
Yeah.
who's willing to do that, but that's
Yeah,
not
that's
going
not
to be
me.
to work. So yeah, I won't be doing that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So one of my favorite questions to ask, especially people like you that have such a great attitude and like to promote mindset and breaking boundaries. Do you have any books that you could recommend? I know not everybody reads, but if you do, we would love to hear what any recommendations you have.
Great question. My favorite book, like you don't even have to ask me. It'll take me 1 second to answer. My favorite book is The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. It's such an easy read, but it is really life-changing. So highly recommend.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a short little book and you can even get it on Audible. But it just really talks about this really quick, like 10-minute routine that you can do every morning. And it really changed my life. It took me from like kind of a unproductive, kind of not living up to my full potential person to someone who was getting up and getting shit done.
I kind of need that book, but kind of don't. Because I have a son who already wakes up at 7 a.m., but I also would like to be the mom who's like, I've been up for an hour, I've had my coffee, and I've done stuff, and now my son is up finally. Like, people on Instagram who are like up at 4 a.m. doing this, and this for their kids. Like, that's not me. I'm like, no, I'm gonna wake up when he wakes up. Ha ha ha. Getting me out of bed before 7, you're out of your mind.
Well, and it can be something like, I know people who've done the routine in the evenings and that works really great for them too. So I think it's more of the discipline piece of it that he makes it really easy to create that discipline.
No, I still want it in the morning. I'm just saying, I want to wake up earlier to do this, to get ready for the day before he's up, instead of, no, I'm just sleeping. I'm sleeping until he cries.
And then you get up and you're just already kind of in that.
Yeah.
I'm just routine. Get everything ready. Let's go.
Yeah. And I know for you, Rietta, like when you were writing your books, you probably had your routine where you got up and you had this is my time to write. It's kind of like that. Like you're just creating this space to work on these things, kind of like writing a book or reading a book, and all those goals of like, I want to read a book a month this year. How do you do that? You read 1 page today and you read 1 page tomorrow, and before you know it, you finish the book and you move on to the next one. So it's kind of like that. It's just creating this time for yourself that you didn't think you had in your schedule, but lo and behold, you make time, and before you know it, you're making these great steps toward your goals.
I love it. I'm definitely adding it to my list because I'm always up for like new ideas and new books and new whatever. So, I mean, I have a pretty solid morning routine, but that doesn't mean it can't be better. So,
Oh.
And I revisit that book maybe once every year or so. And at different stages of your life, different things hit. And then you can apply those things.
Yeah. I get that.
That was a great question.
It just came to me because you were talking about it. And I'm like, I gotta ask her. This is one of my questions to ask people. I know not everybody reads though. So I was like, I hope she reads. And she's not like, I don't got anything.
You know what? If she would have
books, but if you like, that's the one. If you're going to get any, that's the one.
If you would have said, I don't read, it was like, oh, okay, moving on. Next question. Awkward. So I don't think you answered this, but how did you start with fitness? Like, what drew you to making the fitness program? Like, was there anything that was like, this is what I want to do?
That's another great question. So when I moved out of Napa, I moved back to the city that I kind of grew up in. It was like a nice, safe place to land before I figured out what to do next. And I immediately, because I had already started this routine of fitness, my first priority was get into a program where I go. And one of the girls who I knew, one of my friends, was already going to this gym. And so I immediately like didn't even ask questions. I'm like, sign me up. Here we go. We're going for a year. I don't even need to know you. We're going. And he was a great coach. It was kind of small, like boot camp style class. And I was there for about 2 years. And he, the owner, kind of approached me one day and asked, like, have you ever thought about personal training? And I was like, no, I've never thought about that. And he was looking for someone to help him. And he was like kind of notoriously didn't really trust very many people. Like he would bring on a coach every once in a while. And after a week or two, that person would disappear. And we'd always be like, where's so-and-so? And he's like, she didn't work out. He didn't work out. So he was really like, he had really high standards or expectations for bringing someone on, which is, that's tough when it's your baby, it's your company. It's hard to bring someone on. So when he first asked me, like, do you want to go through the process, become a trainer and work here, help me out? My first thing is like, if you fire me, I'm going to cry. So like, are you sure? And this is just another testament of like, always invest in yourself. Put in the time, the energy, and sometimes the money in yourself. He had offered to pay for my certification, which is like, if anyone's gone through personal training certification, it's expensive. And he had offered to pay for it. And I always feel like if you don't have some skin in the game, you're not going to put as much into it. So I told him, like, I will pay for half. You pay for half, I'll pay for the other half. And that gets you going. Like that will make sure you're going to put in a lot of the effort. Like you think about like free programs that you do online, like free fitness trials or challenges. Usually most people don't end up doing them. If you put some money down, you tend to do that. So we split the cost of the certification. And this is kind of a funny side story, is at that same time, I had also decided that I wanted to run a marathon, my first marathon. I was 29. I had a knee surgery in high school. I never thought I was going to be a runner, but something about this like journey I was on was telling me like, well, I can do something really hard, something I never thought I'd be able to do. So I had signed up for a marathon. So I was working full time. I was managing a hotel at the time, which is like an 80-hour work week. And then I was training for a marathon, and I was on the side studying to become a personal trainer. And if that's not a testament for like what you can get done, like what else you will make time if it's important to you. So
Ain't that
I got my
truth?
certification. Yeah, I got my certification and I started working at his gym a little bit. And then my now husband proposed, and I was moving down to San Diego to be with him. So that kind of like goes back to, I think I had mentioned earlier, like there was a point in time in my life where I ended up having to leave all those people that I had built this relationship with and this rapport with. And they trusted me and they were so empathetic about like, she's just learning, she's just a baby trainer. And then I had to like be like, bye, good luck. And I knew they were in good hands, but it just is so hard to
It is hard.
those relationships. Yeah. So yeah, I had never thought about personal training as a career path, as a passion, but something about going through this process of learning from scratch, not knowing anything, and then having really great coaches who taught me really well and really liking that. It helps me, I feel like, be a better coach because I've been there. I've been that person who didn't know what they were doing. And so when I'm coaching my members, I'm teaching them from square one so that if they were to walk into a gym, especially for us in military life, you're usually walking into a gym on post or on base, and it's a bunch of grunting military guys. And that's really intimidating. So
you left out the most important part. Smelly, grunting military guys.
Smelly, like judgy, they're all like looking at you and making you feel like, maybe you don't belong there. And so like, it's really important for me to coach my clients so that they can walk in and feel like, I know what I'm doing. Like, don't come over and try and tell me my form, anything about my form. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm confident in what I'm doing, and then I'm doing it right and safely.
I love that.
So cheesy. To me, it just sounds like a really cheesy 80s rom-com. The guy going and commenting on my form, get the hell out of here. It's not the 80s anymore.
Oh, and just my pet peeve is, you're like for instance, like you're squatting and some guy comes up behind you trying to like spot you. Oh, if I see that, it
It
makes
just
my
gets
skin
you.
crawl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
I don't
Cannot.
know if you've ever seen it, but Kevin Hart does like a little skit about like working out in the gym when he first started and about like not knowing anything and how like some guy was watching him like do this machine. Then he got up and the guy put his ass where his face just was. And he's like, why didn't you tell me? You let me do 3 sets. You didn't say anything.
I think I have
That's
seen that, but I forgot about it.
hilarious.
Oh, I
Yeah, and
laughed
how
so
like that
hard.
feels horrible, you know? Like you're just trying to do your best and you're trying to like improve yourself, and then someone comes over, it makes you feel so silly, which is
But
fine. Part of fitness is failure. Part of fitness is learning that it's okay to fail, and then you keep
Absolutely.
going and you make progress. But yeah.
have
Yeah.
you seen the reels where it's like Planet Fitness and like really people using the equipment super weirdly? Oh my God, I
Yes.
get a kick out of it every single time. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Why?
I can only watch so much of that. Some of it is just a little bit too real
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
So
I get that. It is. It's hard to watch it where you're like, oh no.
yeah.
I also totally relate to you, your pain on leaving clients.
Mm.
Not only just like personal training clients, but I ended up randomly teaching bar when I lived actually in California. My husband was stationed in California. We were there for almost 7 years. And I never really like gotten along with a lot of women. And like these women literally became like my tribe. Like they threw me a surprise going away party. Like it was so hard to leave my bar studio ladies. Like broke my heart.
I know it's yeah, you get so close, you share so much, it is like a family, and then you're just like, okay, probably won't ever see you again. Good
Yeah.
luck. It's
And it was
hard.
funny too, because they're like, you're the hardest teacher, but we love you. Don't leave.
Oh,
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Definitely the hardest teacher.
I love it.
So is there
Connie,
anything else you want to share with our listeners?
she knew what I was going to say to her. No, that's a good thing. That means we're on the same level.
You guys,
Oh,
you guys
okay.
are reading each other's mind. I think some of the biggest takeaways that I really want to leave your listeners with, male or female, but of course my heart is with helping females, is that there's never a right time to start. You know, like there's never a right time, and it doesn't always have to look the same way. I encourage everyone to kind of meet themselves where they're at and start with a walk. Go for a walk and see
That was
how
me.
that helps. Yeah.
That was me.
There's
I
something
started off
so
walking
therapeutic.
and then just kept going.
And the other thing I really want to kind of emphasize is, especially for those who are kind of working toward aesthetic goals, is, don't give up when you're not seeing progress right away. That's one of the things that I work with a lot of my coaching clients with, is like, it's going to take time. It took a long time to get where you're at right now. It's going to take a long time to get where you want to go, but there's a journey from here to there. So a lot of times, a lot of people that I work with, when they come to me, they've tried and given up multiple times.
Yep.
Or, they tried and then they PCS it all derailed, and now they're trying again. It doesn't matter how many times you try, just keep going and give yourself the opportunity, the time to like go through the journey, because you're probably going to find so many things about yourself along the way. And yeah, eventually you're going to get to the goal as long as you keep going, but enjoy the journey while you're at it. Like there's going to be ups and downs. And if you're on aesthetic goals, you might gain weight a little bit and then you lose weight. And we're going through this journey. And everyone expects it to happen right away. They expect the results within 4 weeks or 8 weeks. They expect their life to be changed in that short amount of time, but that's not how life works. Life works in longer periods of time, and you have time to go through that process. So I think that's it. Is like, there's no perfect time. Just start and give yourself time to go through the journey and go through the ups and downs.
Yeah. So for anybody that is interested in working with you, how can they find you?
You can find me on social media. My Instagram is Grace B Fitness, and you can message me there. And then one of the best places, if you are in military life or you want to support military entrepreneurs, first responder entrepreneurs, is Spousely, which is a a marketplace for specifically for military spouses and first responders. And I know, Rieta, you sell your books on there.
Yep.
So
And
go
we
and buy
interviewed
Rietta's book and
Yep.
then head over and see PCS Proof Fitness.
when we interviewed
ahead.
Monica, who's the CEO
Oh,
of Spousely.
Yes.
Yes.
And she's doing big things. I know,
She's
like, even
incredible.
my husband commented, he's like, oh, I saw her on some publication the other day. So
She's
doing a
incredible,
lot.
man.
And if you want to support other women and women entrepreneurs who are, just trying to support their families and do the things that they love, which you don't really have a lot of opportunities to do in military life, then Spousely is a great place to look for companies like that. And if you go to Spousely and you just search PCS Proof, and PCS Proof Fitness will pop up through that.
That's awesome.
And if you want to just learn a little bit more about the company, my website is FitPath. That's FITPATH coaching.com. So fitpathcoaching.com. And you can learn a little bit more about my private coaching as well as the PCS Proof Fitness program.
Awesome.
Jinx, Rieta. All right. Well, this is how to do when shit gets real, and we'll see y'all next episode.
Thank you, ladies.